Hi friends, this is my first video like this, so let's dive into this very much extended version of a deep dive about a brand that I have researched way too much. This is for the public interest, so that consumers can be aware and they can learn more about the things that they are buying. I'm also not going to be making any definitive claims here, so just remember that. No definitive claims, all for public consumer information. So I've been investigating Elwood since at least April. I thought it was just gonna be a one and done type of thing, but no. I have a lot of things to talk about here. The Elwood that you know, it's not the Elwood that it was in the past. The Elwood in the past was actually like a skate brand, and it started in the 1990s. By the late 2010s, the brand was losing its relevance and was basically on the edge of collapse. Elwood was also part of the Topson Downs portfolio. However, in 2020, Justin Saul and Jackson Wirt, they acquired Elwood. I'm not sure what the process for the acquisition was, but what I will tell you is that it's not a tale of like outsiders coming in and like taking over. Jackson Wirt, who is one of the co-founders of Elwood, is the son of Joe Wirt. Joe Wirt is Topson Downs' longtime corporate secretary. So Jackson Wirt's father is very, very high up in Topson Downs. The other co-founder, Justin Saul, while he's quite inspiring in his YouTube little chats, he encourages his followers to, just get their foot in the door. And he claims that he was really lucky to get a job at a fashion manufacturer. In other interviews, he will say that he entered the fashion industry by, begging his best friend's dad for a job. That best friend, Jackson Wirt, that dad, Joe Wirt, that job at Topson Downs. He really tries to downplay the influence of Topson Downs. He'll say like, it was just like a women's, ladies manufacturer. Interesting. Topson Downs, from what I could see, was reporting revenues of nearly $238.8 million. Topson Downs has a major influence in the fashion industry. It's been around since like 1971. It has ties all over the world. So to say that it's just like a ladies manufacturer is very much downplaying it. Its retail clients are going to include Walmart, Target, Nordstrom, Urban Outfitters, Shopbop, PacSun, and many, many more. You'll also see in other videos that they work with Walmart on their No Boundaries line too. And I was looking at job reviews for Topson Downs, and a lot of the things that came up were themes of nepotism and favoritism in the workplace. There was also a reference that like promotion patterns are influenced by personal connections. And from watching their YouTube videos, I did see a lot of overlaps between Topson Downs and Elwood. Somehow both have warehouses in Chino, California. Okay, that could be a coincidence. Elwood's address was also the same address as Topson Downs' warehouse. And just like another little fun fact is the CEO of Topson Downs, his son is going to be the logistics and warehouse guy for Elwood. So I was like, interesting, what else could they be sharing? So I asked my followers to actually send me tags from their Elwood clothes or their Dairy Boy clothes if they have them. I will say that Dairy Boy is affiliated with Justin Saul. Justin Saul is going to come up as like one of the names on Dairy Boy's business registration in California, so they are connected. He's even said that in a video before. And on some of these tags, they were actually carrying the Topson Downs manufacturing codes. There are some garments where they did have their own manufacturing code, but others did have Topson Downs' manufacturing code. The numbers on Dairy Boy's tags were also Topson Downs' manufacturing number. What that basically told me is that Dairy Boy and Elwood, they are under a lot of the same umbrella as Topson Downs. So those brands that are marketing themselves as like independent heritage fashion, they're basically just built atop a pre-existing corporate infrastructure that is very well oiled to do the things that they want. So yeah, no wonder these brands could probably make it big so quickly. And let me just tell you that, Topson Downs' operations are not without controversy, okay? In 1995, there was the El Monte sweatshop in California. This is where around 65 to 70 Thai immigrants were found in captivity, and they were forced into working 80-hour weeks without pay. Investigations at the time found that some manufacturers, including Topson Downs, were tied to the garments made there. So this case actually led to a lot of US labor reforms, and that's even though in a video, Justin Saul stated that he likes to keep, fashion separate from politics. Do you see how these things kind of got started? So if we fast forward to 2012, there was a fire at Tarzine Fashions in Bangladesh. This fire killed 112 workers and injured over 200. Reports say that the factory had already been flagged for safety violations, but it continued operating. Of its 14 production lines, 5 were producing for Walmart, and sourcing records list Topson Downs among the suppliers with the orders there. Responsibility was then blurred through layers of subcontracting while the workers bore the cost and ultimately died or were injured. You'll also notice that there's going to be a running theme about subcontracting here. As import records indicate, Topson Downs is still running real strong in Bangladesh, and it remains to be a partner of Walmart. And on the topic of their Bangladeshi suppliers, let's go to this. In 2022, H&M suppliers in South Asia were accused of contaminating rivers. One of the suppliers that was named was called Taqwa. Taqwa also supplies Topson Downs' No Boundaries line. That is the No Boundaries line that is done through Walmart with also the help of Justin Saul. And you can easily see that it is supplying for No Boundaries because the product codes that are in the import records directly go to the products on Walmart's page. And just this month, a worker at Taqwa recently died after a factory wall collapsed on him. He worked there for over a decade, and I didn't see anything from Walmart or Topson Downs talking about this. Another company that appears in their import records in Bangladesh is Polo Composite Knit. According to the Business and Human Rights Resource Center and other outlets, Polo has faced allegations of unpaid wages, illegal dismissals, and intimidation of union leaders. In March 2025, reports say that a union leader was arrested on false charges following worker protests. Committee members were allegedly assaulted. Polo Composite Knit has not responded when they were invited for comment. Also didn't see any comments or responses from Walmart or Topson Downs. So when it comes to finding Topson Downs' suppliers, that was readily available in import databases, at least for the first tier, which is going to be like the final assembly of the garment. But finding Elwood's was a little bit more difficult. They were not coming up in import records, so for me that indicates that they are probably going through Topson Downs. I'm just operating with the assumption that they're going to be importing through Topson Downs, which that would probably also mean Dairy Boy as well. And those layers, you see, it makes it a lot more complicated for me and, for anybody to figure out how clothes are being made. So what we do is we look in their YouTube videos because they are sure to share some more suppliers. And boy, oh boy, is this juicy, and it involves possibly forced labor. One prominent example of this is going to be Jiangsu Guotai Guosheng. This is a Chinese state-owned enterprise, so, Americana heritage. With a Chinese state-owned enterprise. When I was looking through Elwood's YouTube videos, you could see a lot of documents that had Jiangsu Guotai Guosheng's logo in it. So that was giving me, direct visual evidence. There were a lot of sample sheets. There were a lot of things that were indicating towards it. Jiangsu Guotai also operates like hundreds of subsidiaries worldwide. These are going to be like garment manufacturers in Cambodia and Vietnam, which you can see here in Topson Downs' import records. You'll see that CB Kingtop and Winus Garments are subsidiaries of Jiangsu Guotai. So if we get to the alleged forced labor of it all, there's a lot of independent assessments that are going to raise serious labor and human rights concerns. Canadian Core Assessment alleged that some Jiangsu Guotai subsidiaries were using forced labor from Xinjiang. A lot of the time, these programs are going to be described as like poverty alleviation. Then in November 2019, a satellite factory of Jiangsu Guotai International Group reportedly hired 3,500 Uyghur workers. And most recently, it was named and is part of a court case regarding Kmart in Australia, is seeking documents to determine whether or not the company has adequately addressed forced labor risks in its supply chain. And this is due to the indication of Jiangsu Guotai being named in their supplier records. I will state that Jiangsu Guotai Guosheng is not banned from importing into the United States, but I will just say that it looks a little bit risky, and potentially even more risky if a lot of your products are going to contain cotton, especially when the cotton may be coming from China, and in China around 85 to 90% of the cotton there is going to be from Xinjiang. And now let's get to the part that really sent me through a loop. I was watching Elwood videos, of course, and I heard Justin Saul say something about Tonewawa. And then I saw Tonewawa's logo, and I was like, And then I saw this guy named Bo on one of the videos, okay? And he apparently works at Tonewawa, or at least the Tonewawa is plastered on the wall of the business. So Tonewawa was registered at this address in Vernon, California. It dissolved in 2021 in the US. I think it's operating out of Hong Kong now. However, there is a company that is registered at that address. It's called Fashion Pin. I'm not sure if this guy is affiliated with Fashion Pin, but I do know that this beau does have like business relationships with the people that are registered to Tonewawa. Import records indicate that there is a trading relationship with Tonewawa and Qingdao Jifa. Qingdao Jifa has, been highlighted in reports for labor concerns. I will also say that a lot of what is being shipped through is cotton. And again, there is a little issue of companies laundering Xinjiang cotton, so that we don't really know where the cotton is coming from. I also found these Chinese court documents that illustrated how Topson Downs functions as the US buyer, is that it's going to issue purchase orders while the factories operate as subcontractors, and freight is arranged by intermediaries. For example, if each international sale of goods was based on a purchase order issued by Topson Downs of California, the supplier was Tonewawa Pty, processing factory was Qingdao Huai, which is a subsidiary of Qingdao Jifa. Tonewawa arranged transportation to the US for delivery to Topson Downs. And what they are doing is importing Qingdao Jifa products into the United States. Again, I will state that Qingdao Jifa is not banned from being imported into the United States. However, some politicians have urged, I believe, the Biden administration to add Qingdao Jifa onto the UFPLA list. What I saw this record was coming from like at least 2021 or 2022, which is quite recently, considering there have been a lot of talk about Qingdao Jifa over the years. I think it even goes back to like 2017, these allegations of forced labor. From what I can find, the relationship between Topson Downs and Qingdao Jifa goes back to at least 2015. Closer to now, it stopped being directly affiliated with Qingdao Jifa, it appears, and I think that's why there is that Tonewawa relationship. I don't know, don't quote me. And there's been a lot of different allegations about them. Investigations were reporting that Uyghur adolescents and women were relocated from Xinjiang to Qingdao Jifa factories under state-backed labor transfer programs. Sometimes they were originating from vocational training centers, which were previously functioning as internment camps, they say. It was also reported in Shandong that a 12-year-old was sewing for Decathlon despite China's minimum working age of 16. Decathlon reportedly purchased around 43 million euros worth of clothing from Qingdao Jifa in 2022. Just looks like there's a few connections there that should be looked at maybe a little bit more. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more to Elwood, possibly Dairy Boy, than meets the eye. I think that a lot of the way that they are able to operate the way that they do is because of all of the infrastructure that has been in place and a lot of the family or personal ties that they have to people in the industry. Also, I guess this is where I say like and subscribe, please. And if you like this video and you want more of these deep dives, let me know and feel free to support me. You can buy me a coffee and that money will go to funding this research that I do independently.